so for this bag, you'll need 2 types of yarn for the body, and these are weight 4. For the bow, I'm using Mohair yarn. You could use whatever yarn you like, but I think Mohair yarn is better because it's like so thin. And this is for the bow. And the bow, I knit them, but you can also crochet, so this is kind of optional. But you will need a 4mm crochet hook, an optional larger one, just for kind of, well, you'll see when we put the bow on, and then a pair of scissors. We're going to begin by just making a chain of however many cubes are down here, which is going to be 29. So that's 29. And then we're just going to do one more chain for when we like build up the row. So we just did that one chain, and we're going to go into the chain next to it with a half double crochet. Like that. So this is our first cube right there. So now we're going to finish off this row. We'll also do one row above that, and then that we'll start the color change up here. So let's just keep going with our rows. So again, oops, doing those half double crochets all the way down this row, and you should have a total of 29 stitches. And then when you come up to the other row, you'll flip your work, but I'll show you how to do that. So just go ahead and finish these 29 stitches, and I'll see you when I'm done. Okay, so I finished the first row, and I also like drew this to be a little better, but we'll get to that later. So now to do the second row, you're just going to flip your work. I'm just going to do a chain 1. And now we're just going to keep doing those half double crochets into that first stitch. In the second row, we're just going to keep going. But in the third row, we'll start doing some black parts, as you can see there. So let's just go ahead and finish this row off. All right, so that was row 2. We're going to do row 3. And it's easy to draw like a grid system. So now you can just kind of count by 5. So in row 3, we have 5, 10, 11, 12. So 12 white, and then we'll switch to 6 black, and then back to 12 white. So let's go ahead and start row 3 with a chain 1, and then 12 half double crochets. All right, so that was 12. I'm going to take the gray yarn and pull it through the white part, and then I'm going to pull that long white strand tightly, which will secure the gray one. Cool. Then I'm going to tie the gray and the white together. And I've just cut this one, so what some people will do is that they will leave the white down here and just keep crocheting, and then when they need the white again, they'll just, you know, grab it. But I honestly, like, I don't really like how that looks. If you want to do that, you totally can, but I prefer to just kind of do it individually. So we have this now, and I cut the white, not the gray, and now I'm just going to do 6 half double crochets in this gray color. Six. And another reason this method is good is because it kind of saves yarn, because you're not, you know, hiding some yarn under there. And now I'm going to switch back to white. So I'll cut the gray, and I'll switch back to white and finish this row. And so that's kind of all you'll be doing. You're just going to follow that grid pattern, and just make sure you're counting all the rows correctly. And yeah, you'll just keep doing this. It can get a little tiring sometimes, especially if like you just have one gray stitch you need to do, and the color changing can be a little annoying. But I think it definitely looks worth it. I don't really like the gray in there. Just cut some out. But yeah, see what I mean? You can kind of see the gray popping out sometimes. So yeah, so just keep going with what we've been doing so far, and then by the end you'll have your little grid work. Okay, so I finished making this panel, and now we'll go ahead and make the body of the bag. And you're gonna start with a chain of 45. So just go ahead and make that chain. Okay, so I finished my chain. Now we're gonna go into that second chain with a half double crochet. And we're just gonna do half double crochets all the way down this panel. And this is basically just the same as what we did before, except there's no color changes. And you're gonna make 2 of these panels. And I'll put the dimensions in for how many stitches there are, because I don't really know how high I want this to be yet. But yeah, so just go ahead and make this panel all the way up as high as you want, or whatever I'm doing. And then we'll put them together. Okay, so we're gonna put this like cat panel on. Just make sure it's kind of like set how you want it to be, and we're gonna do this side, bottom, and there. So just go ahead and grab the white yarn. If you want to do like a different edging, you could also do that as well. But I'm just gonna stick with white. You're gonna make a slip knot like that. You're gonna take it out, and then on the panel you're gonna stick your hook through the cat panel, and then just that corresponding place in there. Grab that yarn, pull it through, and we're just gonna keep doing this. So you're gonna go through another spot in your work, grab the yarn, and pull through. And you're just gonna go all the way down with this process. Grab the yarn and pull it through. Cool. And yeah, so just be careful and make sure that it's like perfectly straight. And then the pocket will be on. So what you're gonna do, so you don't want to cut the yarn off the second panel. You want to keep it on your hook. And then we're gonna line it up, and you can kind of like put them together like that. And we're gonna sew the side, bottom, and the other side. And the way we're gonna do that, we're just gonna be doing like slip stitches into the work basically. So let me show you what I mean by that. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick my hook into like the corresponding area on the other side, and then pull the yarn through. And you're just gonna go all the way down while doing this. And this is a little tricky when you're doing the sides, because as you can tell, there's no like clearly defined stitch where you want to do this. But just kind of do this like however fits. And do make sure as you go along, sometimes you might be pulling on one side tighter than the other, and by the time you get to the end they're like offset. So just make sure that's not happening. If you have like stitch markers, you can kind of like put them there to make this process a little easier. But yeah, so you're just gonna go all the way down doing these little chain things until you get to the other side, all the way in a U. Okay, for the handles, you're gonna make 2 of them. Leave the tail kind of long so we can sew it in. A slip knot, then a chain of 5. Okay, go into that second stitch. We're gonna be doing single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then you're gonna turn your work. And I know some people do a chain 1, but to make your work more straight, you can just immediately go in with a single crochet, and it will make the edges very straight, which looks nicer. So that was 1. And we'll just finish this row with 4 other single crochets. And you'll just repeat this until you get your strap to be as long as you need it to be. And yeah, I'll let you know how many I end up doing. Alright, so I finished making one of the handles. And it's 128 rows of single crochet. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna sew this on, and you can kind of put it like wherever you want, but I'm gonna put each strap around 10 stitches away from the end. And I also left both of the tails pretty long, so that way it's easy to sew in. And then the other thing I do, just like my own preference, is that I like to leave a little bit poking out, just so it's a little stronger, but I'm gonna put it in the inside like that so you can't see it. So yeah, so let's go ahead and do that. I'll just put it like a couple rows in like there. And you can just sew this however you like. I don't really have like a clean method. I just kind of like keep going until I feel like it's nice and secure. But yeah, you can do whatever you want. And then once you're done putting one handle on, you can go ahead and put the other one on. Another tip is to make sure that the handles aren't twisted when you are sewing them, so make sure that it's correct, because like this way, right, it's like twisted, or if it was like this or something, it'd be twisted. So just make sure everything's oriented correctly and even, and yeah, then your handles will be on. So to make the little bows, I chose to knit it, but you can just crochet it, but I'll show you how I knit it. Basically, it's just like with mohair yarn, it's a width of 6 stitches, and then I just made it as long as I wanted. This might be like, I don't know, it's pretty stretchy, so maybe it's like 18 inches, I don't know. But to knit it, you'll just go ahead and cast on stitches. I realize this isn't a great tutorial if you're new to knitting, so you can honestly just crochet it if you want, but you're just going to cast on 6 stitches. And then just start knitting. And you'll be interchanging between a knit stitch and a purl stitch. I recommend, watching some real knitting tutorials, not just one where I'm using mohair yarn, to learn this in case you don't know already. But yeah, so you just go ahead and start knitting, and you can make them as long as you want. You can also change the width. Everything is up to you. And you can make a couple of these. I think the more bows, the prettier. Okay, so I finished putting the handles on. I just want to show you how I kind of put the bow on. I just find one of the single crochets here, stick a hook through, pull this through, and then you can just tie the bow like that. And you can add as many as you want and straighten it out a bit. But yeah.